Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin and I am the Dream Decipherer, and I help you to crack the code of your sleep and dreams so you can sleep sound and dream deep. With the days getting shorter and the nights getting ever so much longer as we go towards winter, I thought it would be interesting to look at the impact of daylight on our sleep. But think about it. Why is it so much harder for us to wake up in the morning when there's very little daylight, particularly here in Northern Europe? It's it's because that not only is sunlight more inspiring to wake up in the morning, but it also signals your brain that it is time to get up and get moving. So the mechanism that controls our feeling awake and sleepy is called our circadian rhythm or our chronobiological clock rhythm. And this is influenced by daylight. So while blackout curtains help in the bedroom when you want to sleep late for whatever reason, you may want to think twice about that because especially if you have trouble waking up in the mornings, because daylight is a physiological stimulant for the visual system and the circadian rhythm. So it helps to boost your energy and get you started during the day. Now, looking at in another week, the British summertime, and in 2 weeks, daylight savings time in the States will end. And we make the most of the summer weather and the longer days by pushing the clocks ahead to extend the day. Now, this has been around since World War One, which was needed to be able to increase productivity for the war effort. So by extending the day into the evening and getting more work done and therefore better production. But it's also credited with reducing road accidents and saving energy in terms of electricity. But what effect is it actually having on your sleep? When the clocks go forward, many people find it hard to adjust to the time change. And even though it's only an hour, it can take weeks sometimes for people to get back into the normal sleep or circadian rhythm and feel normal again. And the reason for that is that the onset of sleep is triggered by an increase in the production of the hormone melatonin, something that there's less of being produced in the summertime because of the longer daylight hours. It is this hormone that helps to regulate the body's circadian rhythm and promotes restful sleep. But melatonin is produced in the evening, particularly at the deepest levels of sleep, and lighter sleep suppress its production. So low amounts of ambient light, such as given off by our phones, our tablets, and computers, alarm clocks, etc., also have the same effect. So it's really important to keep your bedroom as dark as possible in order to encourage the production of melatonin and get a good night's sleep. So, I mean, you can use temporary aids such as an eye mask or dark curtains or blackout blinds and whatnot to block it out. But what you really need is to be able to adjust your circadian rhythm so that that sleep hangover doesn't occur. So let's take a look at working outside, or rather working inside. If you're working long hours indoors with no sunlight and it makes you feel tired, you're not alone. Daylight exposure is absolutely essential for our alertness as well as our ability to function, and it can significantly improve work productivity. In fact, having natural daylight has been ranked as one of the top 10 most important factors to a good quality work environment. Daylight can even affect the attitudes we adopt at work and as well as our experiences. There was a study done back in 2014 which compared the health of workers who had offices with windows and natural light and without. And what it found is that the limited daylight hours during the day resulted in reduced vitality, reduced sleep quality, and physical problems. So having that signal of natural daylight is really important. But how can we actually protect ourselves from the problems associated with a lack of daylight exposure? Well, improved office architecture if you're working in an office, and many of us are working from home these days and can actually get up and look out the window. But for those who have jobs that are indoors or underground, it really is a problem. But there's two simple things that can be done to increase exposure for the average person who's working indoors, and that is just simply taking a walk during a break, or having lunch outdoors, or at least someplace where there are windows so you can see daylight. So those are two simple things that can do that, even though there may not actually be sun shining, the fact of having the daylight, even if it's cloudy, is enough to help with our circadian rhythms. Now, as I said, the loss of or gain of an hour of sleep during the year will have a real impact on our circadian rhythms or our sleep-wake periods. Now, during the switch to standard time, or whether it be British Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time, Eastern Standard Time on the East Coast of the States, most people end up getting more sleep and not feeling the impact, but not all. Personally, I find the winter months, particularly being so far north, close, not that far off from the North Pole, I find the extra long nights drive me absolutely mad because I don't need a lot of sleep. So it's just like 7:30, and it's like I feel like I need to be sleeping because it's dark. So not everybody enjoys the longer hours of darkness. But the loss of an hour due to the switch of daylight saving time or British summertime can really have far-reaching impacts. On this day, when the time changes towards the summer months, people average 40 minutes less of sleep, which doesn't sound like a lot. But each year, on the Monday following the switch to British summertime or daylight savings time, over 2,600 more work days than average are lost due to work injuries in the U.S. And this reflects an increase in workplace injuries of greater severity. There's also an increase in miscarriages, heart attack risk, and suicide rates associated with this chronological or chronobiological change. Additionally, the economies will take a hit because of this. In U.S. markets, it can relate to equate to a single day loss of some $31 billion because of this changeover in the time. But why do we keep using this transition time if it's really causing so many problems, both physically and mentally as well? There are pros and cons on both sides of the argument as to why we should get it, and besides health and sleep, and, productivity, but there doesn't seem to be a good payoff between the extra productivity from the longer hours because of the changed clocks and losses in life or property or money because of this switch in time. Now, there are various disorders, sleep disorders, that can cause this circadian rhythm to get out of whack, some of which are familiar to people and others which are not. So I thought it would be interesting to look at a few of the more common and even less common reasons why our sleep phases would be disturbed. The first is called the delayed sleep-wake phase, and this is characterized by simply an out-of-sync sleep pattern. For example, if you sleep 2 hours later or more than a normal going to sleep time, they will basically tack that same time on to the hours going forward in the morning, so they'll sleep later. There's something else called an advanced sleep-wake phase, and this causes people to fall asleep several hours before their normal bedtime and then wake up hours earlier than most people will be awake. So they'll be prowling around in the middle of the night with nobody but the TV for company because they went to sleep so very early. Then you have the people who have no discernible rhythm, and that's an irregular sleep-wake pattern, so that their sleep patterns are so disorganized that there's no clear waking or sleep pattern. I mean, the closest equivalent sort of would be an infant until it finds its normal sleep patterns. It's up every 2 hours, but at least that's regular. There's no rhyme or reason. Then there are the people whose 24-hour day seems to shift a little bit later each day. So each later, their sleep times will become out of sync because they're sleeping later and later and later, but their sleep pattern isn't keeping track with it. Finally, there's the more familiar shift work where people were working what they call unsociable hours, which can cause all kinds of health and sleep problems, including poor mood, constant fatigue, irritability, and even depression. And finally, the happy sleep loss is jet lag, but it's just as problematic. It can ruin the first days of your holiday and take time to recover from when you return. So those are the more exotic forms of sleep dysrhythmia, if you will. But anything that can cause a particular stress on a person and can upset their normal sleep patterns. It could be changes at work, a new baby, obviously, but bereavement or sudden shocks of some kind can also disturb our sleep patterns. And on the short term, we can survive, but if it goes on for too long, it will really have serious impact on our physical as well as emotional and mental health. So there you have it. I hope you found that of use. If you have any questions, you can always get in contact with me. But I thank you so much for watching and listening. Have a fantastic evening and beginning of the week to come. And I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.